Hey guys, welcome to this edition of the LA Sports Hub podcast. We have another awesome guest joining the show this morning to talk about the Lakers. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the Sports Hub audience.
Hey everybody, this is Anthony Irwin. You can catch my stuff at Silver Screen and Roll, where I host the Lakers Lounge and Lakers Late Night podcast, and then I write over it at Forum Blue and Gold as well. So should be fun.
Thanks for joining, Anthony.
Anytime.
So let's get right into it. The biggest story regarding D'Angelo Russell was just the other day. News came out that Magic Johnson is going to start to take him under his wing. And Russell had a lot of immature moments in his rookie season. So I guess it's good to start with just what are your thoughts on Magic Johnson doing this, and do you think it's going to work for the rookie going forward?
I mean, it can't hurt, right? And that's the biggest thing. And actually, in terms of the basketball aspect of things, Magic was a taller point guard, obviously at 6'9", and then you have D'Angelo Russell, who's closer to 6'6" or so. But with that aspect of it, that makes some sense. And then at the end of the day, if you can have somebody like Magic Johnson helping you out in basketball, it's not going to hurt. It's weird to me that it didn't happen last year with Byron there. That catches me by surprise somewhat. That why wouldn't Magic want to take, they already had all the Showtime Lakers who were standing for Byron anyway. Why not just bring in Magic as well?
Yeah. How do you think he's going to mesh with players like Jordan Clarkson in his second campaign if Clarkson does end up coming back to LA?
I think it's fine. They showed flashes of being able to make it work last season, and that was even in a pretty antiquated and not very productive system that Byron Scott ran. So that's kind of, I'm looking forward to see, what a new system offers those guys. And with Walton coming in, the biggest thing I'm excited about with Walton is he seems very flexible, that he's going to tailor his system to whoever is running and whatever is more productive for the guys on the court. And that bodes well for, Jordan Clarkson and D'Angelo Russell, who want to play together. That's the biggest thing, is I think they'll figure it out because they want to.
Do you think Walton coming out and just saying that the potential that guys like Randall, Clarkson, and Russell have, even to the point of being all-stars, is a little too much too early, or do you think that's what they really need?
Well, I mean, they obviously need it, right? They definitely need those guys to work out, or else this whole rebuild takes a major blow. At least one of those guys need to be an all-star. But are you asking if maybe it puts too much pressure on the guys?
Yeah, if it's like, it's one thing to come to LA as a second pick like Russell did, and one thing to have the expectations Randall did, and then he gets the injury in his first year.
Mm-hmm.
And Byron Scott really didn't seem to be too big of a fan of letting the young ones play. Really, even late in the season, it was a little bit of like awkward down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just curious with Walton's approach. Do you see that really excelling Russell right away, or is it going to take a little bit of time for that to kick in?
Well, so to answer the initial question as to whether or not it's putting too much pressure on the kids,
yeah,
they're the foundation of a rebuild for the Los Angeles Lakers. That there's going to be pressure there no matter what, just inherently because of what they're stepping into.
Right.
As far as, expecting them to be all-stars, this just goes without saying. Those guys were drafted at the top of the, all of them except for Clarkson, obviously. Clarkson was the 46th pick. But for Russell and Randall, those guys were drafted in the top 10. No matter where they would have gone, they would have had that kind of pressure no matter what. So Walton saying that, yeah, we need these guys to be really, really good, bordering on all-stars. That just tells me, if I'm those guys, I don't know if Byron Scott says that stuff about them, when he initially meets them. So if I'm those guys, I'm saying, yeah, they hired a coach who has legitimate faith in us right from the get-go. And then as far as Walton's impact on the guys, it's going to be fun. Walton is a younger guy. I don't see any of the headbutting because of the millennial aspect that we tended to see with Byron. So that'll be fun to watch.
In terms of free agents that the Lakers might try to bring in, do you think bringing Luke Walton is going to be a successful catch, and getting guys like Kevin Durant or other free agents to come to LA down the road?
It's tough because there's a litany of factors with any free agent deciding to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And what caught me interested or caught my eye last year as it was going on was D'Angelo Russell wasn't very highly touted early on in the year, right? There was a lot of speculation as to, well, is he going to work out? Is this? And as soon as he started playing well, he got a national ad spot with Gatorade, right? And if I'm a free agent, I'm saying that's legitimate. If I go to Los Angeles and I'm the guy in Los Angeles, I all of a sudden become one of the most popular players in the NBA, if not the. Like if Kevin Durant comes to Los Angeles, expect all kinds of jersey sale records to be broken because he would be the heir apparent to Kobe. He would step into a monster market, and even if if the Lakers sniff the playoffs next year, you're talking about Kevin Durant MVP candidate. So will Walton hurt or help? I would imagine he's going to help because he's a very popular guy around the league. And I would just think it's going to help too from the standpoint of free agents look at the Lakers and say, okay, they aren't as much of a mess. If they would have kept Byron around with the record he had, free agents going to say they don't care about winning, right? And that's a major message to send out there to everybody. Say, look, Byron was a very popular Laker, and we just can't stand for that level of losing. Here's Luke Walton coming from an incredibly successful situation in Golden State. That'll help free agents.
Do you see Kevin Durant being the biggest name that would come to LA, or do you see somebody else coming before him?
I don't know if the Lakers necessarily make like their first meeting that they're going to take is going to be with Kevin Durant. That's how that's going to work out because they have to, right? The first call they make at 12:01 a.m. on July, I think it's the 1st or the 7th. I forget which day is the first day of free agency. But the first call they're going to make is going to be to Kevin Durant's people. Say, hey, let's set up a meeting. Let's get this going. Now, the mistake they made in past years was waiting around while Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, and those guys, made their decision. The Lakers have multiple max spots on their salary or in their upcoming projected salary. So while Kevin Durant, makes his decision, the Lakers can say, hey, just by the way, who else on the market would you like to play with, right? And I'm not saying that they're going to make their decisions completely around Kevin Durant, but if they say, you really want to play with Al Horford? Cool. We have the money to go offer Al Horford a max. You want to play with Hassan Whiteside? Great. We'll go get you Hassan Whiteside. And then even if they don't land Kevin Durant, you have either of those two guys over here, and the team is already, exponentially better than they've been in recent seasons. So I would say their first move, talk to Kevin Durant, probably go look at a big guy. If Kevin Durant doesn't work out, get on the phone with Nick Batum, and then you handle free agent like that.
So you mentioned them maybe even getting to scrape the playoffs next year if a name came to town. If they end up just staying with the core that they have, what's the chance of them making the playoffs and being an actual contender pretty soon?
If they don't land a free agent?
Yeah, if they just try to develop the talent of Russell and Randall, Clarkson comes back, and then with their pending draft pick, they try to build around that.
That would be pretty disastrous.
Right.
The offseason will not have gone very well if they completely strike out. They need to land somebody. And even if it's not a matter of, hey, we need to get to the playoffs, we have this goal, there is Jim Bust's timeline, it's a big elephant in the room, that they need to start competing. As much as it is nice to say that we're going to base, the direction that the franchise is going in off of progress amongst these kids, at some point they need to start winning basketball games. And they aren't going to win at the rate that we would like to see them win without landing some kind of free agent, some kind of talented, veteran who can step in and add to the win column. To actually answer the question, you're looking at an over-under next season again of about 33 to 35 wins if they don't land anybody.
Mhm. Do you see them leaning towards anybody in the draft coming up?
I think if they do keep their pick, right?
Right.
If they do keep their pick in the upcoming lottery, that on draft day they'll be looking to make some kind of trade. Like I said, it's not necessarily a matter of looking at these kids and saying they aren't the future, they aren't this, they aren't that. But
Right.
the Lakers, this isn't how they usually go about their rebuild, right? Even when they drafted Magic Johnson and immediately became title contenders because of how great a rookie he was.
Right.
They had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar there.
Mhm.
You know, when they drafted Kobe, they didn't just say, all right, we're going to develop around Kobe and see how this works out. They landed that Shaq guy and made that work. So what they'll probably look to do, I would think, is they'll look at those guys. They'll look at D'Angelo Russell. They'll look at Julius Randle. They'll look at Jordan Clarkson and say, which of these three or which two of these three has the best case to be, you know, a legitimate co-centerpiece to a successful NBA franchise. And what they'll do with the other guys will say, hey, no offense, but you can help us land so-and-so, right? And if that so-and-so, like right now, the Kings, there was a report, I think it was NBC had the Kings looking to trade DeMarcus Cousins, right?
Mhm.
So if the Lakers say, look, we need to start winning, DeMarcus Cousins wins basketball games. Now, he wouldn't be the only thing that they would look for, right? If they look to get DeMarcus Cousins, now you're talking to Kevin Durant and saying, hey, by the way, you look what we got over here. And that's what they look to do. But I don't see them keeping those all four of those players being Russell, Randall, Clarkson, and then this second or third pick.
Okay. And then last question would be just obviously Kobe Bryant going out the way that he did was huge for the team. It was sort of a passing of the torch moment, if you will, even in the game against Utah, the final throw to Clarkson for the dunk, kind of to seal that. Do you see that derailing the Lakers, even if all goes well, they get a big name? Do you see just the absence of Kobe being too much of a factor the first year?
No, I do think it'll be a thing. You know,
Yeah.
it'll definitely be, you know, like the first. I don't think it'll be really the first game, but about a week into it, you're gonna look around and say, like, wow, Kobe's not here.
Right.
It's kind of weird. But I
Yeah.
don't think it'll necessarily be a hindrance to what they're trying to do. If anything, I would argue that Kobe was more of a hindrance last year when
Yeah.
Byron Scott, you know, just thought every play should go through Kobe, that he should have some insane usage rate while being not very efficient. That's
Right.
not good for the kids. So I think next year when, you know, the kids actually get to work in a new system with a coach who doesn't play such obvious double standards with that one guy,
Mhm.
and then, you know, get to build with, you know, either free agent or trade target X. I hate to say it, and I can't, you know, the 18-year-old me is smacking me upside the head for saying it, but I can't wait for the post Kobe Bryant Lakers.
Mhm.
It doesn't feel great to say it,
Yeah.
but it's you know, without change, progress is impossible, and this is quite the change.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining the show. We appreciate it.
Anytime.